Welcome to LUX SINE. Fly into the orbs to move the story forward. How would you feel if everything you touched and saw was only 5% of the universe? Deep underground in the Black Hills of South Dakota, scientists are searching for evidence of missing matter. Inside the decommissioned Homestake gold mine lies the deepest and most sophisticated dark matter research experiment, LUX. Below ground, in these same hills, lies the womb of Mother Earth, the sacred Wind Cave, the most complex and oldest cave in North America. Inside Wind Cave is the place where the Dakota were born, the place where creation began. Deprived of the outside world, these two chambers of silence inspire us to look beyond light. Take your time and explore the sacred underground of the Black Hills.
So at Sanford Lab here, we study a lot of different mysteries of the universe. We have something like 32 active experiments actually going on underground. Those probe one of the biggest mysteries in physics right now, which is dark matter. What makes up all of this missing mass in the universe? Whatever this mass that makes up 5 times more than all the other regular matter in the universe combined, what is that stuff? Why is it so hard for us to see and understand? LUX, the experiment I worked on searching for dark matter, we had to build this incredibly sensitive detector because dark matter exists in this form that's both invisible and intangible. They're essentially ghost particles. The only way to see any sort of signal with that reliably is to go a mile underground. Block ourselves from the cosmic radiation and all sorts of different forms of interference that you have on the surface, like radio towers and cell towers and even just people. So we've had to go a mile underground in order to get away from all of that because our detector is so sensitive that it would be essentially destroyed by the amount of radioactive noise that we have on the surface world here. We are witnessing the beginning of a new era for mankind looking out at the stars and understanding what's out there. Because until now, I mean, the entire thousands of years of history of science, as we've looked out in space, we've seen light. And that's all we've been able to understand the universe using. And even as technology is advanced, we've been able to see radio waves and gamma rays and X-rays. But all of these are just different forms of light. They're all electromagnetic radiation. And that has some limitations. And as we now start to see, or hopefully we'll shortly see, dark matter, this gives us an entirely different way to look at the universe that's not electromagnetic, that isn't blocked by, giant clouds of gas, and it doesn't interact with stuff the way the electromagnetic force does. So for the first time in the history of mankind, we have this second tool for looking out at the stars. It's a totally different way to see our universe.
The size of the facility is actually quite immense, and as you can imagine, in 125 years of mining, there was a large area that was mined. So basically, the physical size of the facility, we go from the surface all the way down to 8,000 feet deep. Our main science facility is located on what's called the 4,850 foot level, so nearly a mile underground. And if you look at the entire facility from top to bottom, there are approximately 370 miles of tunnels that have been mined out and excavated through the mining process. And we use about a dozen of those, about 12 miles of area for our actual science activities. What we've tried
astronomers, or even current day astronomers, would go as high as they can, climb the tallest peak, or launch a telescope into outer space, the Hubble Space Telescope and others, getting as close to what they are studying as possible, whereas in some sense on Earth here we're trying to get as far away from what we're studying, because ultimately studying neutrinos, studying dark matter, and some of the other projects that we have at our facility are really fundamentally interested in understanding the makeup of the universe and how it has evolved, and all of that is best done with these experiments underground. And so it really is ironic. You're getting as far away on the planet, relatively speaking, to study the cosmos by going underground. So the LUX detector is a large thermos. You can think of it that way. Maybe 6.5 feet tall, so a little taller than I am, a little wider than I am, roughly 3 feet in diameter. In the heart of that detector,
focus on is really trying to give people an understanding of the role that these particles, whether it's a particle of dark matter or a neutrino,
Right now at Sanford Lab, we have something like 32 active experiments actually going on underground. I worked for a number of years on the LUX dark matter experiment. That's actually what I got my master's degree in physics on, and that's finished now. But it was, while it was running, it was the world's most sensitive dark matter experiment. We didn't actually see dark matter, but what we told the press was, of course, that we've seen absolutely nothing, but we've seen it better than anyone's ever seen it before, and that was LUX in a nutshell. The next generation of LUX will be installed next year, and that's called LZ. It's the LUX Zeppelin. It's a collaboration between two different collaborations, and that will be, again, the world's most sensitive dark matter detector when we have it on site. There is this idea that perhaps there are certain bits of knowledge, certain things in the universe that we fundamentally can't know. Things like quantum theory, that suggests that outcomes of certain experiments, they don't have a specific outcome. They have a chance of doing one thing or another, and certain quantum theories hold that we will never know what's beyond that, what drives that chance. The idea is that the universe is actually blocking us from ever gaining this knowledge. And there are other limits like the Planck scale, which is this incredibly small measurement beyond which we'll never know what happens in the universe below that limit. There's no way for information to cross the barrier from one side of it to the other, so we'll never know what happens there. And the idea that, that dark matter falls into this realm of the unknowable, I don't think that's actually the case. I don't think that'll ever happen. But the idea that the universe has these little bits of knowledge that it might be withholding from us, it's both frustrating and exciting. Because as a physicist, as a scientist at all, I want to know everything. I want to know absolutely everything in the universe. I want to try to understand all of that. But the idea that the universe is this more complex place it's kind of appealing. It's driving, if anything else. And if there are bits of
LUX stands for Large Underground Xenon Experiment. So it was at the time a very large experiment full of xenon, and it was underground, very simple. The idea is to detect dark matter in outer space by building an incredibly sensitive experiment deep underground. And then you're waiting for a very rare event where this dark matter particle, this elusive particle we have not really detected yet and do not know exactly how it be.
The role that they play in helping us understand the universe. I mean, things like our study of neutrinos, we're hoping will be able to help us.
Custer came out here to a frontier. He finds gold. It becomes a lab. The lab gets turned into a place where the frontiers of science are changing. Dark matter is a concept that completely blows apart notions of what we think of as Newtonian science and opens it up to kind of unknown possibilities. We've been sitting here looking at this very little slice of what's actually out there because our bodies are made of baryonic matter. They respond to baryonic matter. It's I don't know, it's like we've been bats in the universe and there's this whole other thing out there and we're
For thousands of years, we looked out at the stars, only to find that the minor notes of this symphony lie in silence. Scientists haven't detected the elusive dark matter, and so they wait, listening ever more carefully for its whisper.
With Wind Cave in particular, it's a very important site to my tribe because it's the site of our emergence story. So what emergence means in an anthropological sense is that a people lived underground and emerged onto the earth. But this story that I tell is a little different because in this story, the cave is more of a liminal space. It's a place of possibilities and it's a passageway. And hidden throughout that passageway, there are doorways, portals that go to different places, different times, and even different universes. And this story is about one of those portals that goes to a place we call the Spirit Lodge. The Lakota were waiting in this place called the Spirit Lodge until the earth was ready for them. There were two spirits that lived on the earth, and their names were 𝐚𝐤𝐤𝐫𝐚𝐤𝐥𝐞𝐢𝐳, the trickster spirit, and Nagite, the double-faced woman. To begin this trick, Nagite took a parfleche pack, and she loaded that pack with buckskin clothing and all kinds of berries and dried meats. and she put it onto the back of her wolf companion. This was no ordinary wolf, by the way. This wolf was a spirit, and it could talk. 𝐚𝐤𝐤𝐿𝐫𝐚𝐤𝐿𝐫 the trickster opened a hole in the ground and sent the wolf down inside the cave through its passageways until it found a portal to the spirit lodge and went through to meet the people. Once there, it showed them everything in the pack, and they tried on the clothes, they tasted the berries, but it was the meat that they really liked. And the wolf told them, if you come with me to this place called the Earth, you can have all of these things and more. But one of the leaders of the people, a man named Tokahe, said, I don't think so. The Creator told us to wait here until the Earth was ready, and that's what I plan to do. And a lot of people agreed with that, but some, ones who had tasted the meat, decided they'd go check out this Earth place. So they made their way through the cave, and as they traveled through this immense darkness. And then when they came up to the surface, oh, it was so bright. The first thing they saw was a giant blue sky above them. And it was summertime, so all the hills are covered in green and yellow grasses, and they thought, wow, what a beautiful place. Go down into the cave itself, what you experience there in the darkness is total darkness, absolute darkness, because there's no light that can penetrate from the surface. You know, when you're on the surface, even on the darkest of nights, there's always some light down there. No. So as long as you look around, you won't ever be able to see anything any easier. And when you're down there in the darkness, it's just you, the sound of your breathing, maybe the subtle movements of your body and your own heartbeat in your ear.
And like what our job to do is to, fix this all up for the people, and they come and we have Sundance, and me, my dad, my brother, we're the chief of this Sundance here, But my dad's the older one, and I'm the main one that does everything. My dad is, he took a lot of time out, We sing songs, we alternate by hauling rocks from the fire into the sweat lodge. We heat these rocks up with the fire and make them nice and warm and get them real nice and hot, and then we bring them here. Inside here we go into meditation, into singing and praying and meditating to the great Creator, and offering the sacred stones, the elements, the fire, the water, and the steam that we use to purify us, all natural elements that we use inside this ceremony, it gets completely black. And the steam, you know, what happens is we go into a meditation form, and the steam that comes off the rocks, we as Lakota people, we believe that that's the higher power. And then whenever the darkness sets, that helps you, you know, set the stage of the spiritual happenings. And then we close the door and everything's pitch black. And then that way, our ancestors of the higher power were able to enter in here. And this evening, again, I want to say welcome you wherever you may be throughout the world, and wherever you reside in this turtle island of Mother Earth. You know, I want to say welcome to you this evening. You'll be invited in here to share a prayer and to come and sit with the Lakota people. Wakatoka toka shela vela maya yelo hai Janupa wakacha vela maya yelo hai we chodani wa maya koelo hila Chanupa wakacha maya koelo hai hila maya yelo hai we chodani wa.
What we know is that from coming out of the cave, there's a certain part of Wind Cave that you go down into. And it's pretty deep, but you go to a place where there's a hole that takes you into another level, and that's the place we call the buffalo stomach. So that the stomach is very close to the birthing entrance of a people. So it's like in the same locale. So right there where the buffalo stomach is where the emergence of our people is at. So those are really important features for us, because once we find these places, a lot of our people haven't seen these things, but once they know the story, they can recognize these places, and then they'll understand the significance. And when I started really dreaming intensely when I was probably like 21, I had a dream of a cave, and I got my obsidian knives through that, and it was
Several years ago, there was a young woman who was with a group of people, and she became separated from them. And that actually, this was in Wind Cave. And she was a fairly seasoned caver, but she did get separated and lost. It is a very long and large cave, and so she had to stay in there overnight. And when she did finally emerge, and they found her and she emerged, she said that she wasn't nervous, she wasn't scared, because there were little lights all around her. And that didn't surprise me a bit. I said, oh, of course there were. There's spirits down there. They were around her and they were protecting her. And of course, the scientists and other people said, oh, those little lights were her imagination. She was hallucinating. Whatever. They had other excuses or other reasons for it. But as Lakota people, we would say, oh, she was being protected by the spirits in the cave. When we think of the book,
I'm an elder here on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, And this community is a calico community. I was born just about 300 yards back here in 1933.
Only a fraction of Wind Cave has been explored,
I've read that narrative.
let alone mapped, like the stars from where we came and everything in between. It is a frontier of the unknown.
I think for us here at Sanford Lab, which is essentially in the center of the Black Hills, to be involved again in that original thing we were talking about, looking up at the stars and wondering, asking the big questions. So now we're here right in the middle of the Black Hills, right in the middle of the Lakota star pattern, looking for answers to those original questions. Where did we come from? Why are we here? And what else is out there?
We call the cave Waka. And Waka means that something's sacred, but it doesn't translate, exactly the same way. It's a lot more accurate to say it's the great mystery.
As scientific experiments probe the frontier of our universe, we are reminded of other ways of seeing, reminded of their parallel journeys into a realm without light. What is left is the sunless space in between.
Hila